All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at how to find that 5-number summary and make a box and whisker plot in Excel. So you'll need to go to Canvas and download the data sets for Chapter 2. And we're going to start on the one for the fuel economy for mid-size cars. So you're looking for a tab called Mid-Cars. In this data set, the Department of Energy provides fuel economy ratings for all cars and light trucks sold in the U.S. The data for the estimated miles per gallon for city driving for 205 cars classified as midsize in 2014 is on that data set, Mid-Cars. So go ahead and download that data set, and I will meet you over in Excel. All right, so hopefully you were able to find that and successfully download that, and you're on the tab called Mid-Cars. And so remember, this is 205 pieces of data, so this is a really long data set. So let's take a look at it before we start making some calculations. So that very top, there's a header up here that says miles per gallon. So we have an idea of what this column is representing. And that is located in box A1. So the column is A, and that row is 1. So we would say that that's in box A1. So our first piece of data is actually in the box called A2. And if we scroll down to the bottom of that 205-piece data set, what we should see is that that last piece of data is actually in box A206. So it's offset by 1 because the first box is a title. So A2 to A206. And so that's where our data is at. And let's go ahead and start. We're going to skip the mean for a minute. We're going to start with the median. So what I'm going to do is in that box that says median, right next to it, I'm going to put an equal sign. So equals is how we tell Excel that we want it to do some calculations for us. So I'll put an equal sign, and I'm going to type the word median. And you'll notice as I start typing it that the command shows up right below here. So one little catch about Excel, see how this is highlighted blue? Most people think that then they should be able to push enter, and Excel will know that you want to select that command. Unfortunately, Excel doesn't work that way. So if you push enter, it will give you an error. What you want to do is either double click on the command or just type it all the way out. So equals the median. And then what I'm going to do is open a parentheses. And so the nice thing is that it shows me how the command works. So it says median, and then it has number 1, comma, number 2, comma, dot, dot, dot. So we could type all these numbers in, but I don't want to type 205 numbers in. So there are a couple ways we could do that. The first way to get around that is actually just to highlight this. So if I click in the box down here where my last piece of data is, 206, and I hold the button down and scroll up, hopefully I'll make it up here to where the beginning of the list is. My computer's being a little buggy. Okay, so now I have all of that highlighted. And at this point, I could just push enter and it will calculate the median for me. But before I do that, I want to show you something else. So where I've highlighted, if you go to the right just a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 inches and up a tiny bit, you'll see this box that says equals the median, and there's a parentheses, and it says A2 and a colon and A206. So what that does is it says, well, my first piece of data is located up in A2. My last piece of data is in A206. And so it'll take anything that's in any of those boxes. Okay, so I will close off my parentheses and push enter. And when we come back down here to the bottom, we'll see that the median is 21. So 1 down, a couple more to go. Let's do the min next. So the min should also be an easy command because it sounds exactly like what it is. So we'll put an equal sign that says we want Excel to calculate stuff. I'm going to type in the word min. And you'll notice there's a whole lot of choices here, but I know that the command is just equals min. So I'll open a parentheses, and that selects that that's the command I'm using. Right, so I need to put my data in, and rather than highlighting it again, this time I'm just going to type it. So I'll put in A2, and it can be upper or lowercase, it doesn't matter, a colon, so the 2 dots, and then an A206. Okay, and when I type that in, it actually shows you, it highlights the cells that you selected so that you can look at it and visually make sure it's what you want. I'll close the parentheses and push enter. All right, so we have a min. That one wasn't too bad. All right, let's look at the quartiles. So remember the quartiles take a little bit extra work because you have to tell it where your data is and you have to tell it which quartile you want. So I'll start typing equals quartile. And you'll notice that now there are three choices. There's a quartile.exe, a quartile.inc, and then this quartile that looks like it has a little warning sign on it. These other choices have to do with whether your set is odd, even, super odd, or super even. We're not going to worry about any of that stuff in this class. We're just going to use the basic quartile command. And even though there's a little warning sign on it, you can just ignore that. It will work just fine. So I'll type equals the quartile, and I'll open a parentheses. And so now it shows me how the command works. It says quartile parentheses array comma quart. So the array is how Excel tells you that it wants to know where your data is at. So we'll tell it that our data is in A2 colon to A206. So I've given it the array, which is where my data is. And right next to the array, there's a comma. So I'll put a comma in there. And when I do that, now it highlights the quart part. And it shows me what my options are. So I can choose a number between 0 and 4. In this case, I want the first quartile. So I can either type a 1 or double click on where it says first quartile. I'll close the parentheses, and that gives me a first quartile of 18. Let's do the third quartile. So skip the median for a second. So I'll do equals the quartile again. I'll do A2 to A206. You're certainly welcome to highlight it. This data set is just really long, so I prefer to type it in. So did you see the mistake I made? So I typed an S instead of an A. And so now I can see that highlighting is halfway across the screen. So I know I made a mistake. So I'll go back and fix that. It's kind of nice that it highlights that for you so you can see. So I'll put it in A206. And then I'll put in a comma. And this is the third quartile. So I'll put a 3 in. And so now I have a third quartile of 26. And then let's go ahead and do the max. So this one should be an easier one again, equals the max. And then we just need to put our data in there. So A2 to A206. And I see it highlighted. That looks correct. So we'll go with that. So I get a max of 51. Okay, so we're looking pretty good so far. We have a couple left here. So let me show you a really nice trick with the median. So we'll finish out this 5-number summary. I've already calculated the median once. I certainly could just type the command in again, but Excel has a really cool feature. If you've already calculated something somewhere once, you can just go borrow that number. So the way to do that is the place where I want to borrow it to. I'll click there and I'll put an equal sign. And then all I need to do is click on the box that has the number I want. So I'll click on the box for the median. So now it says equals B211. So what that's telling Excel is go figure out what number is in B211 and then just put it back here as well. So I'll push enter. And so there's my 21 again. All right, so I have 2 more commands left. These 2 are just a little funky. So the mean, this one's a little odd because it isn't equals the mean. That's what we would expect it to be based on the other commands, but you have to remember that this one is equals the average. So for whatever reason, Excel went with the common term for that rather than the statistical term. So we'll put equals the average. We'll do A2 to A206. And I see I've highlighted the right stuff and I push enter. And so now I get a mean of about 22.561. All right, so one quick side note, you can actually adjust the number of decimal places that are here. So if you wanted more or less decimal places, if you're on the home ribbon, so that's the ribbon with the font choices and all the other fun stuff, if you go kind of a little bit to the left of the center, there's a box that'll say general or number or something like that. And right below it is a $sign, a percentage, a comma. What we want is the box that says 0.0, 0.00 with an arrow to the left or an arrow to the right. And so clicking on those will either add decimal places or it will take decimal places away. So for example, if you were working with currency, money, you might want to use 2 decimal places. And so that's just kind of a nice way to change that. All right, so that gives us the mean. We have one more command left, and that's the IQR. unfortunately, the IQR is not built into Excel. So we have to use the formula, which is Q3 minus Q1. And I could certainly grab a calculator and put 26 minus 18 in there, but I can also get Excel to do that. So I'll put my equal sign in. I'm going to use that same trick I just used on the median. So I'll click on the box where the Q3 is, and I'll put a minus sign, and then I'll click where the box with the Q1. And so I have the blue minus the red, which is what I'm looking for. And when I hit enter, I get an IQR of 8. All right, so you should have all of those filled in on your guided notes now. And then let's go ahead and make a box and whisker plot. So just like before, all of our plots are on the insert ribbon. So I'll switch over to the insert ribbon, and it's going to be in the same spot where the histogram is. Okay, so let me move this around a little bit. So I'm going to highlight this data again. Okay, so I've got everything except for the label highlighted. And I'll go to where the histogram is. And when I click the denoter, there's our histogram. Here's my box and whisker. So I can certainly pick the box and whisker off of here. You can also go to recommended charts, and there should be a box and whisker on there. So if I go to all charts, and then down towards the bottom is my box and whisker. So that's just another way of getting there. So go ahead and put that in there. And then let's go ahead and change that chart title. So we'll do mid-size cars 2014. And then I'm going to label that vertical, that up and down axis. That's going to be my fuel economy. So, and it's in the same place as before. So add a chart element, go to axis titles and do the vertical. And so then we'll put fuel economy in here. And it is in miles per gallon. All right, and so now I have a pretty nice looking box and whisker plot, so that's great. And then part 3 on here says how many outliers are there? So looking at it right now, it looks like there are 5 outliers, but I've worked with this data set before, so what I'm going to do is actually expand this graph a little bit because there's actually 2 of them sitting right on top of each other. So those top 2 are right on top of each other. There are actually 6 outliers on this one. Okay, so go ahead and put that down and then leave parts 4 and 5 blank. So where it says the distribution is skewed or symmetric and then the mean and the median, we'll revisit those in just a little bit. So just leave those blank for right now. Okay. All right.